rapid pace out here early in the second. Levert, hey, knocks it down. Rondo's on the run. Stops, hits Love fires. Cavs reset with a fresh 14. Under 3 to go in the half. Garland works on Holiday. Lost it for a moment, shovels to Mobley. Garland, step back three, drew a foul, knocks it down.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening live here to the All Things Cleveland Cavaliers podcast on a special Tuesday edition. We'll get to why that is in a second. Let me first introduce our lovely co-host, Joey Schneider.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Brandon, always a pleasure. Still in a bad mood. I'm not gonna lie. Not exactly happy about a lot of things. Watching the playoffs, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit here in a bit. Also got to talk about some awards that were handed out that I'm not real happy about. Just happy that that the season, it was I think it was a success. We got something to build on for next year, but still got a little bit of a cleaning up to do this year, and I get to yell a little bit today. So let's hop right into it, my man.
Yeah, of course, as always, guys, make sure to follow us on Twitter at All Things Cavs. And the reason why we're recording on a Tuesday today is because tomorrow night, Den of the Dogs, as well as a few members of the We Win Media, including our very own Joey Schneider, are going to be participating in a kind of Browns mock draft, kind of looking at the Browns' perspective of the NFL draft, as the draft is 48 hours away from the time of this recording. So make sure you tune into that. That is why we are here on a Tuesday, and we need to discuss some awards because some of the NBA awards have been announced. Some of them, the finalists have been announced, but the name of the winner has not been announced yet. But Joey, why don't we go ahead with the award that was announced on Saturday, the Rookie of the Year award, and to many and our surprise as well, Cleveland Cavaliers forward Evan Mobley did not end up winning the award. In one of the closest Rookie of the Year award votes in recent memory, the nod went to Toronto Raptors forward Scottie Barnes.
I do not accept Scottie Barnes as the Rookie of the Year this year. And I know that sounds extremely harsh because Scottie Barnes did have a really good season. And I'm going to tell you why. Scottie Barnes, and I told you this at the very beginning of the season, I said who were going to be the two guys who were going to be up for Rookie of the Year? Scottie Barnes, Evan Mobley. I really like Scottie Barnes coming out of Florida State. When he went number 4, it was no shock to me. A lot of people had Jalen Suggs going number 4 to Toronto. I knew that they were going to take Scottie Barnes, and I knew he was going to have a good season. Mobley meant more to the Cleveland Cavaliers than Scottie Barnes meant to the Toronto Raptors. The Cleveland Cavaliers were 4-9 without Evan Mobley. The Toronto Raptors were 5-3 without Scottie Barnes. Numbers-wise, very similar. Scottie maybe has he's definitely got the edge in assists, but Mobley's got the edge in blocks. Mobley does things defensively that Scottie Barnes, while is very good defensively, and it's close, but he can't do. Offensive game, very close. So, but when you're talking Rookie of the Year, I think you have to talk about what player made the biggest impact on their team. And yes, numbers do mean something, but in a race this close, that's what it should have came down to. Who meant more to their respective teams? 4-9 without Evan Mobley, 5-3 without Scottie Barnes. What that tells you is the Raptors were fine without Scottie Barnes. The Cavs, however, needed Evan Mobley on the floor because that's how good he is. That, to me, is where the conversation should have ended, and Evan Mobley should have been handed the Rookie of the Year. There's no question in my mind. Scottie Barnes is a heck of a player. they're still, they're fighting for the playoffs, but Evan Mobley should be rookie of the year. I do not accept Scotty Barnes' rookie of the year. People can hate on this all they want. That is me not even being biased. I wish that I was being biased at this point, but you cannot tell me that Evan Mobley didn't mean more to the Cleveland Cavaliers than Scotty Barnes meant to the Raptors.
So I think what the voters were looking at, because I do agree with you, right? Their points are basically identical. Their rebounds are basically identical. I think Scotty had like one more assist or something like that than Mobley. Their stats were pretty much identical. You're right. Obviously, the Cavs' record without Evan Mobley was worse than the Raptors' record without Scotty Barnes. I think, though, in a situation where you have a race this close, you looked at it as we just talked about, the record of Mobley when he doesn't play, the Cavs record, and Barnes when he doesn't play the Raptors record. I think the voters looked at it as, in a race this close, the Raptors did still make the playoffs. In a case where, again, the Raptors and Cavs were very close throughout the season, and bottom line is the Cavs did not make the playoffs. And I think that, and especially because Mobley was a little bit in and out of the lineup at the end of the season, I think that those two combinations were what put Scotty Barnes just a little bit over the edge. Now, again, it isn't unprecedented. We've seen a lot of situations where rookies don't make the playoffs. A lot of times the rookie of the years don't make the postseason. A lot of times, these guys just come out, they have extraordinary seasons, they put up great numbers for bad teams. We didn't really have a case like that this year. Kate Cunningham, but he was never really a candidate for top two. He was always going to be the number 3 candidate. But, again, I'm not as outraged as you. I actually kind of expected this. I wasn't terribly upset because, to me, awards are just awards. And, this could benefit the Cavs in the long run because Mobley could come out next year and really, prove and show why, in his mind, he should have been rookie of the year. So,
yeah, I agree with you on that. But I think the point that you made can also be used against you in the same sense. Like, where you said Scotty Barnes probably got the nod. And I'm not surprised Scotty Barnes won either. I think that it could have gone either way. I don't think that it should have, though. I'm not surprised that the voters picked Scotty Barnes. I would not have, and not by a mile, over Evan Mobley. And the reason is because if you look at the games that they missed, the Raptors were 5-3. The Cavs were 4-9. So if Evan Mobley plays those games and we win, maybe we're not talking about the Cavaliers not being in the playoffs. He meant more to his team, which tells you he should have been rookie of the year. If a player is that important to a team fighting for the playoffs, he should be the rookie of the year.
Yeah, I wish, this is the one thing that I wish. Again, I completely do agree with you on that. I wish we got a quote from the voters themselves to explain why they went this guy and why they went this guy. Because to me, it would make our lives so much easier. We wouldn't sit here debating over, what is the criteria. The NBA doesn't really have criteria. It's the same with a bunch of these other awards and stuff, which is why I think we criticize award winners no matter what, because there is no, this is the amount of games you have to play, this is the amount of points you have to score, this is the amount of impact you have to have on your team, this and that. It's all subjective. And so I'm wondering, I guess, what Mobley could have done more to edge him out over Barnes.
The only thing that I can really see that would probably put Scotty Barnes ahead of Mobley is the aggressiveness. Scotty Barnes has been aggressive all year. He didn't shy away from anything. And like me and you have talked about through the season, there are times where Mobley probably should have been more aggressive and could have been, maybe that is what pushed Barnes over. Awards are awards. I don't like when I personally feel somebody should win an award and they don't, especially when it's fairly obvious that player meant more to the team than, the other player who won it. And this is not the first time that it's happened. And this is how I would feel if it was any player, if it, like, let's say, Evan Mobley, it was out of the running. Okay. And it was down to Cade Cunningham and Scotty Barnes, and Cade Cunningham won. I'd be like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, okay, the kid put up a couple of really good games, but his team was terrible. Like Scotty Barnes, was the obvious choice. But then when but no, Evan Mobley is in the mix, and Evan Mobley meant more to the Cleveland Cavaliers than Scotty Barnes meant to the Raptors. That's the bottom line. Similar numbers. I'm really hoping that Evan Mobley, and I know, he's a really calm, chill guy, and I don't think that that he really cares about this. But I really hope that maybe this puts a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, like you said, and gets him to the next level next year. I really hope that he takes this and he turns it into something, because he should have been Rookie of the Year and he wasn't, and he got edged out. And I don't know why. Like you said, maybe they should, maybe not criteria, but maybe you should have to write out your reasoning for voting for this person. And then people can go through and be like, oh, okay, this is the reason why. And that, that's a whole nother conversation. But like I said, for me, I a little upset about it. And that's, yes, it is because Mobley's a Cav. But if I wasn't a Cavs fan, I still would think that it was kind of iffy, just because how much more Mobley meant to his team. But what's done is done. Hopefully Mobley takes this, uses it as fuel and motivation for next season, and we move on from here.
How about the next award, Coach of the Year? Now, this one is a little bit interesting to the Cavs, because our own JB Bickerstaff was not, in my opinion, very surprisingly, not in the final three for finalists. Ended up going to Eric Spoelstra in Miami, Taylor Jenkins for the Memphis Grizzlies, and Monty Williams for the Phoenix Suns. I was very surprised that JB was not just in the top three finalists, because as much as Monty Williams has had a good year, Phoenix by far the best record in the NBA for the whole season. Eric Spoelstra in Miami, again, nobody would. I mean, I didn't expect Miami to be this good and be the number one seed in the East. Taylor Jenkins in Memphis, I did not expect them to rise up from being the 8th seed that they were and going all the way up to the number 2 seed, and I believe they had the second best record in the NBA this season. Nobody expected that. But the fact of the matter is, nobody expected the Cavs to take the jump that they did. And, going from a team that was projected 26, 27 wins, something like that, all the way up to 44. Now, we could sit here all day and debate if JB would have won it or not, if he was even a finalist. But I'm just surprised myself that he did not finish in that top three.
I think that the top three guys are probably the right guys. I think JB did a great job, but as me and you have talked about, especially down the latter half of the season, if it feels like JB lost his way a little bit with lineups, and I think he did what he could, but you got to look at the coaches that are there. You got Spoelstra with the Heat, Jimmy Butler, I think, is a star, but besides him, they don't really have any stars on that team. And he did a heck of a job with, slowly bringing Oladipo along. bringing Tyler Hero off the bench. I mean, Spoelstra had a lot of tough choices. He's a great coach, and they were the number 1 seed. Phoenix, I mean, a lot of people thought Phoenix was a fluke last year, that wouldn't happen again. And, they're not. They're for real. And then you got Jenkins and Memphis, who, me personally, that's who I would pick for coach of the year, because that team, I'd probably go, their GM of the year too. That team is just such a well-built team. Just like, we've talked about this, and I think I said the last podcast, they got, maybe 7-8 players who are starters. And on top of that, they got a rising star, if not a star already, in John Morant. Very well constructed team, lots of really good players who all play together, play defense, play offense, can get to the rim, can hit the three. That's a really well constructed team. And, Jenkins is a really good coach. So I'm not surprised that JB wasn't in the top 3. I think that he definitely, maybe next season, I think this, if we make that playoff run next season, I think he might be in that conversation then. And I think that maybe earlier in the year, he would have been in that conversation if we would have finished strong. And even if we would have made the playoffs, if we were a 6 seed or a 5 seed, I think he would have been in that conversation. But I think, with as poorly as the team did down the stretch, and then not making the playoffs, even, I think maybe, even, I don't think he would have been in that conversation, even if we would have made, the play-in tournament. But if we would have been, one of those top 6 seeds, maybe at that point he would have gotten some consideration. So I agree with the 3, and I'm not upset about it. I think JB's going to have another opportunity next year.
Yeah, no, I'm not upset about it. I think it was a little more of a surprise to me, just because I think we all almost assumed up until the last couple weeks of the season it was going to be kind of shoo-in, because we all kind of thought the Cavs were not going to be in that play-in tournament until, of course, the season fell apart the last couple of weeks. And I did some research because I was curious, because a couple of my buddies were texting me how much of an outrage it was, and I just did some research on the top of my head of, how many coaches of the year did not make the playoffs. There's been a few exceptions, but it's not a regularity, I should say. There's been a few coaches here and there, but for the most part, most of the coaches of the year have either had the best record in the NBA or they've been close to it. So again, credit to those 3 coaches, and there's a reason why all those 3 teams are top 3 teams record-wise in the NBA. You mentioned John Morant. John Morant won Most Improved Player of the Year, winning it over DeJounte Murray and Darius Garland. Now, I'll be honest, I think it was the right decision. I love watching John Morant. The kid is an absolute stud. Next to my guy, LeBron James, number 6 in Los Angeles, he might be my most fun player to watch basketball. John Morant, I can watch him for 48 minutes. The dude is electric. The dude can do it all. He can jump. He can pass. He can shoot. He is a superstar in the making. And I think out of probably all of the awards out there, Most Improved Player is probably the one where the stats probably matter the most. And Ja went up from 7 assists and 4 rebounds in the 2020-2021 season. He knocked that up to 27, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds a game this season, along with, again, leading Memphis to the 2nd best record in the NBA. But the thing with Ja is Memphis had an incredible record without him, and I'm wondering if that's why you're shaking your head at me.
No. I'm not shaking my head because I don't think Ja deserved it. I think this is another category where, you say stats matter, then they should call it the Stats Matter Award.
I mean, these awards are Stat Matter Awards. That's the way I look at it.
See, and I look at it as what they are called: the most improved player. And I'm gonna be honest. The most improved player for me this year out of those 3 is DeJounte Murray from the Spurs. last year to this year, I mean, he was a triple double machine this year. He was not that same player last year. Ja Morant was a rising star last year, and you could see that he was going to be a superstar. So I'm not against Ja getting the award. I actually think all three of them. I think him and Garland and Murray all were deserving of this award. So I'm not upset that any one of them won it. But I think if you're really going to say who was the most improved, I would say that Murray was the most improved player from last year to this year. But it's really just, these three kids are incredible, and they're going to be stars in the league, for a very long time. Darius Garland, obviously, you want to be a homer, and he made huge strides this year. But I think that he still has a little bit of ways to go, but he's gonna be a huge star. I think that Ja Morant is already there at that star level. I mean, Ja Morant reminds me very much of when Derrick Rose won the MVP. That's almost exactly who he reminds me of. They're almost the identical size. I think they're both 6'3" or 6'3", 6'4". They were both lightning fast. Very, very similar. And I think that all three of these guys are going to be around the NBA for a long time, being stars and cornerstones for their teams.
Yeah, again, I think the thing that hurts DeJounte's case is the Spurs again. Yeah, they made the play-in tournament, but the West was so much weaker. The Spurs only won 34 games, and they were the 10 seed, as opposed to the Cavs, who obviously had to fight for their lives, and they won 44 games. I mean, so
but
it just shows to show you though, again, like that's where I think this conversation is good, because I think we need criteria, right? It's like I look at it one way, you look at it another way, and it's like, okay, so is this a stat award? Because if it is, then we should just clump a bunch of stats together and call the top leader and points MVP, or get rid of the titles, whatever, the scoring title, whatever you may be. If we're just looking at stats, how do you define most improved? Is it just all around game? Is it helping you, I guess, in every category and your team winning? Like what is it?
Yeah, I agree 100%. We need clarity on the criteria, but to go, look at Murray's stats. Last year he averaged 15 points a game. This year 21. Last year he averaged 1.5 steals. This year he averaged 2. Last year, I'm sorry, I'm looking.
Last year had 5 assists. This year he had 8.
9.
9. Okay.
And then last year he had. I'm looking for. Last year he had 7 rebounds. This year he had 8. So I guess if you're going by that, then yeah, Morant had a bigger jump in points. He had a bigger jump in boards. So you go there, but if you look at that, Murray averaged 21 points, 9 assists, 8 boards. He almost averaged a triple double.
Right, but Ja again, 27, 7, and 6.
That's why I said I could see any one of those 3 winning, and I'm not upset that any one of them won it. But I think again, the Spurs, Murray, you take Murray off of the Spurs, are they even a top? Are they even?
And again, I agree with you there. If you take them off, are they a bottom 5 team in the NBA?
Right. Yeah, and I think that's where the criteria needs to come in and be a little more clear. But I'm okay with Ja winning. I love Ja Morant. I like the Grizzlies. So And you know, like I said, you know, if I wasn't a if I'm not a if I wasn't a diehard Cavs fan, I'd probably be a diehard Grizzlies fan. So
And I don't want to dismiss Garland either. Again, Garland went from 17.6 assists, 2 rebounds to 22 and 9. So he almost averaged a double-double. And again, he was missing his backcourt mate Colin Sexton for most of the year. And we saw with our own two eyes the Cavs struggle offensively mightily without Darius Garland out there. Again, I didn't really think Garland was going to win it with the other candidates. I thought he certainly, had a chance until I started to look at Ja and DeJounte's numbers. But again, Garland, no slouch whatsoever, just like Mobley. Expect him to come back next year and have a bigger year. And again, hopefully use that as a chip on his shoulder.
absolutely.
All right, moving on. Sixth Man of the Year award. Now, these have not been announced to the winners yet. The finalists, though, are Cam Johnson from the Phoenix Suns, Tyler Hero of the Miami Heat, and our own Kevin Love of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I personally think, and I think that we both have already alluded to this, I think Tyler Hero is probably going to win this award. Listen, as great as Love was off the bench, we talked about it all season. He was the catalyst for this team. A lot of times, if he did not score, early coming off the bench, the Cavs offense wouldn't really get going. Yet on the flip side, I believe Tyler Hero averaged 20 or more points off the bench per game this season for the Heat. And you could really make the argument that, and again, obviously now they have Oladipo back, but before that, I mean, they had Lowry, they had Bam Adebayo, but really outside of Jimmy Butler, their most consistent scorer, you can make an argument, was Hero.
Oh yeah, I mean, oh God. As much as I really, really wish Kevin Love would win this award, Tyler Hero averaged 20 points, 5 boards, and 4 assists off the bench. And I mean, yeah, he played starter minutes. He averaged, 33 minutes a game. I don't have Love's stats in front of me right now. I don't know if you want to pull those up.
Yeah, pull those up.
But to come off the bench and average 25 and 4 and 33 minutes, it's going to be really hard to beat that. And I think that honestly, you can make a case, and we can make the case and say, well, was he more important to his team than Love was? And my answer would be, I think Tyler Hero was probably more important to the Miami Heat than Kevin Love was to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I
agree with that.
I don't know if I should say more important, but equally as important.
Yep.
Because there was a lot of times Kevin Love was the catalyst for a lot of comeback wins. But I think that if you don't get that production from Tyler Hero, the Miami Heat are not the number 1 seed. They might not even be, 3. They might be a 4 or 5. So to get that from someone coming off the bench, I'm not expecting Love to win at all. I think that just being nominated, this is one of those cases of just being nominated is an honor. Yep. And congrats to Tyler Hero when he eventually wins.
And Kevin Love, for the record, averaged 14.7 boards a game, which again, not bad, pretty good for a 6-man, but nowhere near Hero's production in terms of the stat board. All right, let's go awards here. Now, these do not involve Cavs players, but I just wanted to discuss these quickly. Defensive Player of the Year award was won by Marcus Smart with 37 first-place votes. Mikal Bridges came in second with 22 first-place votes. Rudy Gobert, third place with 12 first-place votes. Marcus Smart, obviously, we've seen what he's done defensively throughout his whole career, but especially in this first-round series against Brooklyn. Obviously, Boston just advanced to the second round last night as a surprise to me, and we'll talk about that in a second. But always been a really good defensive player, and really got no problem with this one.
No, congrats to Marcus Smart. I've always loved his game. He's tough. He's in your face. You know what? He can hit the 3. He can he can get to the rim. But he's a team player. He's a smart player. He's always in the lane stealing passes. He's always looking for ways to get offensive fouls. He is just a smash mouth. And I've used this term for him before. And I know, during a podcast, he's just one of those smash mouth basketball, like old school basketball players who's in your face. He gets in your head, and he's just an absolute hell of a defensive player. Congratulations to him. I really thought that he would win, and I'm happy for him that he did.
All right. Well, we have both alluded to this in past podcasts, but it's time to talk MVP before we move on to the playoffs. Obviously, we know the finalists: Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic. I don't think the person that's going to win is who I would vote for.
Wait, real quick.
Go ahead.
I think what you just said is what I'm thinking. I think we think the same thing. The person who I believe should win is not going to win.
Yes.
Okay.
I think Embiid should win.
Yes.
I've heard Jokic's name thrown out there, but I don't see them doing it back to back again. I think it's going to go to Giannis. I think they had a better record than Philly, but by a couple of games. And I think Embiid's going to get knocked by the fact that he got James Harden in the middle of the season. But let's not forget that Joel Embiid literally carried a Sixers team. Didn't really even have Ben Simmons. He had Tyrese Maxey. He was just coming along at that point. He really carried them throughout the first half of the season, kept them afloat. They were in number 1 seed contention for the whole season. The dude can do it all. And as much as I love Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's already won 2 MVPs. And listen, you can rack up all the MVPs you want. There have been some games, and I made the argument, I think LeBron's been snubbed at the MVP 3 times. I think he could have won 7 MVPs if they really wanted to give it to him.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that there is like this changing narrative in the NBA where it's like we want to give other people the awards. We don't want to give everybody the same award every year. We want to mix it up. And Embiid just deserves it. I mean, Embiid, to me, really, and you have said I think you've said he's a top 3 player in the NBA in your eyes. And I have thought top 5, but I think he's moving more closely to my top 3, especially with what we have seen, especially since he's been playing with that thumb injury. And again, I know it drives me nuts too that they vote on this at the end of the regular season, because I think it really should take into account the postseason if you really want to talk about the most valuable player. But we'll see. I mean, besides, if Jokic wins it, it's going to be a little head turning for me. Like if Giannis wins it, I'm not going to be too upset, but I really think that should go to Embiid.
I agree 100%. Embiid to me is the MVP. I mean, he didn't have his, that other superstar who was supposed to be Ben Simmons all season long. They finally got a trade for James Harden, but Embiid still led the league in points. He's, I compared him a little bit to Shaq throughout the season as far as his dominance as a center, but he's so much more than that. I mean, he can pop out and hit the 3. His court vision is absolutely insane. He just is he's a blocking machine. He's a force is what he is. Jokic is, he's incredible, and he could do a little bit of everything. Inside, outside, passing. He, same thing. Giannis, obviously, freak of nature, the Greek freak. That that nickname is well earned. But if MVP, and again, what does most valuable player mean? Most valuable player to what? To the league or to your team? Because if you're saying who's the most valuable player to their team, if you take Joel Embiid off of the 76ers without James Harden there, that first half of the year, that team is garbage. Joel Embiid literally carried that team to a top 3 seed. And that is the reason he should be the most valuable player. I mean, and if you want to go stats, he also led the league in points.
Yep.
he is, in my opinion, the MVP of the league. He is a top 3 player. I do not think he's going to win it. I think it will go to Giannis or Jokic. And I'm not upset if either one of them win it, because they also in their own right deserve it as well, because they're 2 top 5 players as well. And they mean a lot to their teams too. You take Giannis off the Bucks, they might still be a playoff team actually, but I don't know.
In the East, they may be a play-in tournament team,
right?
They may be like a 9 or a 10, but they're nowhere near what they are,
right? But if you take Embiid off of the Sixers, are they even a play-in team?
No.
Okay, and Jokic, that's a tough one, because Jokic he's incredible, but that's still a really good team even without Jokic.
And listen, even though Jamal Murray was out, and I get it, Denver might have had a better record or would have been this season. Jamal Murray was out. I think my biggest problem with Jokic is,
well, Michael Porter was out too.
Yeah, and I think my biggest problem with giving it to him is, listen, I know that they had a really good record and their team was only a couple games off of a top 3 seed, but they're also the number 6 seed in the Western Conference. I know they gave it to Westbrook the 1 year he averaged all the triple doubles, and the Thunder were the 6th seed. But you know what? There's some, like, I just feel like to be an MVP of a team, you got to be at least in the top 3 or 4 teams in the standings. Your team has to be a legitimate championship contender, because as I talked about it, I don't think you could be in that 5, 6, 7, 8 range and be considered legitimate championship contenders, unless obviously your team's been hurt the whole year and there's extenuating circumstances. But Jokic to me had like a quiet season where it wasn't really a dominating season, and I don't even know, I can look this up too, I think his stats last year were better than this year.
I mean, I don't know. I know he's put up absolutely ridiculous games. Like I said, I think it just boils down to, I think those 3 are probably those are the right people. I'm not really going to be upset whoever wins it, but I think that Embiid clearly is the person who should win MVP, because he meant more to his team than the other 2 maybe did to theirs. I think you take, and that's hard to say, because you're talking about 3 players who are the top players for their teams, top 3, top players in the league. But I think that you take Embiid off of the Sixers, and the Sixers are one of the worst teams in the NBA. With Embiid, they are a top 3 seed in the East, which is an incredibly tough conference, as we know, and we know that as Cavs fans. So, Embiid, I think, should win it. I don't think he will. If he does, I'll be extremely happy for him, because I think he absolutely deserves it. I think he really wants it too. So, I'm really hoping he does. Maybe, I don't know. When do they announce that award? Do you know?
So I think that's announced more towards the conference finals.
Okay.
I think either that, or they started doing this like NBA award show at the end of the season. That's when they might announce it. I don't know. I've always said I think they should wait to vote on the MVP at least till the conference finals. I feel like at least till the playoffs, because again, you're talking about valuable. Again, we've seen according to what MVPs get beat in the first round, have a terrible series where the guy who's in second or third goes out of the conference finals or wins the finals, and then the MVP looks like a joke. It looks like a null and void. It looks literally just like a stat award. And again, is it stats or is it valuable? And it's not just an NBA problem. It is a sport-wide problem with these awards. That's why I've always had a problem with awards and awards. They're nice. They are accolades, but a lot of them are just like, oh, you got the most of this, so here's your award. We need criteria. But
so I have a personal award I would like to give out right now, if that's okay, Brandon.
Go ahead, Joey.
This award is for the biggest flop of a team that was supposed to win the championship in NBA history, and the award goes to the Brooklyn Nets.
You're good. I wanted to ask you one question about the playoffs because I don't want to spend too much time on the playoffs today because I know we're going to beat the dead horse over it because we got a lot of time to talk playoffs between here now and June. But I was going to ask you your biggest surprise of the playoffs so far, and that is my biggest surprise.
I'm not surprised at all.
As you guys know, I thought Brooklyn was going to obliterate Boston. I was not a fan of Boston for the regular season. I like Tatum. I didn't think he'd grow into that superstar level yet. I thought Kevin Durant would just rise and shine. I thought those role players would play a big role. I just thought, frankly, Brooklyn was better than Boston. I am here to say I was wrong. Brooklyn is a mess. Their whole team is a mess. They're about as good of a mess right now as the Lakers, and I don't know which one you can clean up faster and how to solve either of them. Both those teams are filled with star powers and filled with messes right now that both need to be cleaned up. So there's that, and I would say my other surprise outside of Brooklyn would be, and this pays a little bit towards the injury side of things because it's unfortunate that this player got hurt. But New Orleans giving Phoenix a series to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Phoenix being tied to even without Devin Booker. Like Phoenix, we just talked about it. Monty Williams has a chance to win Coach of the Year. Phoenix have the best record by far in basketball. New Orleans, a team who started off the year like 1-18. Like nobody remembers that. They couldn't win a game the first month and a half of the season. Yet here they are, and Brandon Ingram is playing out of his mind, and this team is young, they're tough, and they believe in each other, and they're giving Phoenix everything that they can handle.
And one of the more quiet trades that I think was brilliant was bringing in CJ McCollum.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it at the trade deadline. I thought nothing about it. I thought it was just one of those trades, like you said, was going to be buried under the radar. New Orleans was not going to make the play-in tournament. They were kind of giving up on the year. And they're doing this without their number one pick, who was once seen as a generational talent when he was coming out of Duke. And he has not played one dribble, not 1 minute this season.
Man, you know what? Just out of curiosity, if you were and David Griffin, former Cavs GM, is the GM of the New Orleans Pelicans. I mean, what can you say? If you're David Griffin, are you sitting back like twiddling your thumbs, going, "Man, this team's playing this well. What can I get for Zion? Can I get like 5 first-round picks?"
You know what? I was thinking a lot about that too, because I said it at the time of the draft. I love Zion. I think he's a very explosive player. He's one of the most fun players to watch. But I was really worried about him at that weight size, jumping at that explosion constantly. And we have seen it now. He's apparently working out. I've seen some videos of him jumping, but he has not played in a very long time. Reportedly, him and the New Orleans organization are not on the best terms, and it's amazing how one guy like CJ McCollum comes in there, a leader, a guy that you need to embrace, and just says, "Okay, Brandon Ingram and all these kids that we got, like let's just go, let's battle." And these dudes believe, and I think that's the biggest thing with a young team. And I hope that it's something that the Cavs can kind of learn from as they're watching this postseason take with them. If you believe in your heart that you can win a series, don't let the media, don't let me, don't let you, don't let anybody tell you otherwise. All you need to care about is the people inside that locker room and in that building. And no matter what happens throughout the rest of the series, even if New Orleans gets killed the next 2 games, they impressed the hell out of me in these first 4 games. Willie Green has impressed the hell out of me as a coach. And New Orleans, a team that I just kind of put to the side at the beginning of the year, they're coming.
And another great young rookie they have with Herbert Jones. I mean, McCollum is putting up 20 a game. Ingram's playing, like a superstar. Yeah, I think so. Okay, kind of getting to your question. I am not surprised at all. Brooklyn got swept. Boston is a complete team. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Robert Williams came back to I think the last game that they played. I mean that's a team. That's a team. And Brooklyn, Marcus Smart shut down Kyrie, Jalen and Tatum were shutting down KD, and that's a good team who absolutely took it to Brooklyn. And I am not shocked that Brooklyn got swept at all. I think my two biggest surprises, number one would definitely be the Pelicans. I mean, they're just putting up a hell of a fight, and you love to see it. My second one would actually, I shouldn't even call it a second, so I'm just going to kind of go more broad here. I think the competitiveness of almost all the series, with the exception of that of Brooklyn, Boston, is really surprising me in this first round. There's a lot of series that I thought would be 4-0, and they're not. They're 2-2 or 3-2, and the how competitive this is so early on, in this first round of the playoffs. That's what's most surprising to me. So, a lot of fun basketball to watch. I'm having a blast watching it, and you kind of don't know who's going to win. Some series are 3-2, like Philly, Toronto 3-2. Toronto's really putting up a heck of a fight. Grizzlies and Minnesota 2-2. I thought that'd be a 4-0. But,
Yeah, no, I didn't. For some reason, I thought that would go 6 or 7. I thought Minnesota would give them a fight.
As soon as looking back, as well as Minnesota played at the end of the season, to get into the playoffs, and they weren't in the play-in. I don't think they were top 6, were they?
No,
they played in. They played in. You're right.
They beat the Clippers, yeah.
Yeah, but I honestly, I mean, they played so well at the end of the season. So looking back, I knew they probably were going to put up a fight. Didn't Anthony Edwards get hurt though last game?
You know what? He pulled a Paul Pierce basically.
Oh, okay.
He went to the locker room and then came back out. It looked like he tore his ACL. Then he came back out and played on it. So I haven't heard anything. Regardless, no. I will say as we will leave it here for today. I know last week I said I was rooting for the Sixers to win the championship.
Oh God,
I'm laughing because now I'm rooting for them to blow a 3-0 lead, because I think it'd be the funniest thing in the world to talk about Doc Rivers blowing yet another lead, as Doc has done constantly since 2008 after he won that first championship in Boston. I thought Philly would wrap it up last night. They did not. Who knows what Joel Embiid's thumb injury is causing? Is it a bigger issue or not? We'll find out next week. We're going to go and leave things here, though, for today. We'll be back here next week talking more playoff stuff, any other Cavs news that gets leaked, or, some draft news, anything that we can think of here, as we are now in the cold depths of the offseason of Cleveland Cavaliers basketball.
I think that we're going to see a lot of stuff, we're going to talk a lot of playoffs coming in the next few weeks and into the finals, and then it's gonna be a little cold. You're in the depths, like you said, you're in the depths of the cold off season. But then really, what you only have a little bit of time between the finals being over and then summer league, and draft, summer league, and you're right back into the regular season. Time flies.
We got about a 6-week window between right after free agency and maybe what summer league, and then that August window is where it's I don't know. We'll come up with something, but we're
going to be so amped up by that time, because trades have happened, and or not trades, but our free agency and the draft, and we'll be analyzing players and what we think the Cavs are going to do. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now. I'm just happy to be able to talk about the Cavs right now, and we'll be talking about the playoffs every week as the playoffs continue. And Brandon, even though the Cavs didn't make the playoffs, it's okay. They had a great season. You know, we talked about this last podcast last week, and let's tell the people what they want to hear.
Right? No.